Welcome to Our Girl Relationships. We talk about the problems people face in their day to day lives. Let's start with the video. My wife and I got divorced about 8 years ago when our daughter was just 7. It was because I found out about her affair with her longtime best friend. At the time, I caught them red handed and she tried to deny it, but there's no way I was going to believe the lies coming out of her. How could she have known the person for years without sleeping with him when I obviously walked in on them? Anyway, I filed for divorce very soon after that. Even though we had a daughter, I knew I wouldn't ever be able to trust her or be sane enough to be calm around her. So the only option left was to divorce. But instead of it being mutual, she dragged me through law hoops. We had an ugly court battle for custody and my assets. In the end, I got custody of my daughter while she chose all our property. I was salty for a long while that she was the one who ruined our marriage, and still, she got to keep everything. The only time I felt a little better was when I was spending time with my kid, because sole custody was worth all that fortune I had to give up. For the last 8 years, I was raising my daughter alone. It wasn't an easy task, and I tried my best to do right by her. I did try to date for a while, but pretty soon it became obvious that with my work life and the remaining time being spent with my daughter, there was no way I was going to be able to juggle a relationship too. So my life became all about her and my work. In all those years, my ex wife did try to contact me several times to let her meet Sophia, my kid. But I wasn't about to let her set a foot within 100 yards of Sophia. Even if I were to forget about everything she did to me, I still remembered how she was an absent mother. There were a few incidents when Sophia was just a toddler and would be crying for something, while my ex wife would be on the phone or reading a magazine. She found motherhood exhausting and a nuisance, and the only times I found her being happy with our kid was when Sophia turned 5 and became a really quiet kid. She didn't speak or ask for anything, and I knew that my ex wife's dismissive behavior was the problem that caused Sophia to be an introverted person. Knowing all that, I denied her request to meet our kid a couple of times. Either way, she asked once or twice a year, so it wasn't like she was very keen on meeting her. But recently, she had been more forceful and had been calling me nonstop every day to let her meet Sophia. I thought about blocking her number, but I feared that if I became too aggressive in denying her, she might try and approach Sophia during school. So finally, I gave in and I told her I'll arrange something so she can see my daughter. Yesterday was the day they were supposed to meet. I talked to Sophia if she wanted to meet her mother, but she flat out said she had no interest in meeting her. It was understandable because I never revealed the real reason her mom and I got divorced, and she still blames her mom for leaving her. I tried many times to tell her it wasn't her fault, but I'm not the best person out there, and I was never able to bring myself to tell her the truth. So I knew that my daughter was angry at her mom and showed no sympathy for the person who left her alone. But I kept badgering her about how her mom really wanted to see her and finally got her to agree to meet her mom for 30 minutes. I booked them a table at a restaurant for lunch. It was the one owned by one of my friends, so I know she'll be safe there and my friend could supervise the visit for me. But what I did not expect was for Sophia to be a complete mess when she came back from meeting her mother. When I came home after work yesterday, she was sleeping at the kitchen table. When I woke her up, I saw her puffed up eyes and immediately asked her what was wrong. If something major had happened, my friend would have called me, so I couldn't understand what went wrong. But as soon as Sophia saw me, she started crying again and blaming me for her messed up life. She said that I'm a horrible dad and the worst person to exist. She said that she always cried in her room whenever her friends talked about their moms, and she hid her misery from me because she knew I would be sad if I found out she was sad. But now she found out that I'm the one to blame for her growing up without a mother. She said that her mom told her how I kept on blocking all her attempts to contact Sophia, and that I fought in court and lied just to get custody. Hearing it, I didn't know what I could even say. What in the world did that wench tell my daughter for her to have such a drastic change in attitude? It's been a day now, and I tried contacting my ex wife, but she wouldn't pick up my calls. Sophia completely refused to talk to me anymore, and I decided to give her time to calm down a little before talking to her. But I am very angry at my ex wife, and I really feel like she did me dirty. So, AITA here for not telling my child the truth or keeping her away from her mother? Or was I right in protecting my daughter and choosing the lesser evil? Should I have just destroyed her completely by telling her how her mom chose property over her own child when it came down to it? Am I a bad father for doing this? I read through the replies of a lot of you guys who commented on my original post, and it really helped me in making my decision. I know what I did couldn't be changed, and both me and my ex wife have made mistakes in raising our kid. But I did do the best I could for her. I thought about whether I should tell her about her mom being a cheater and choose wealth over child and give her trust issues for the rest of her life, or should I just let her believe that mom and dad had an argument and mom left the house? I thought I could really deal with the latter option better, and if I kept raising her to believe that she was not at all to be blamed, then maybe it'll be the best life for her. But of course, nothing ever goes according to our plans, and the way she found out about the half truth hurt her a lot. It's been 2 weeks now, and I thought it was enough time for her to sift through her emotions and figure out what she was feeling. It also gave me time to mentally prepare myself to have a conversation with her that was due for a long time. And today I finally told her everything that happened. I told her about how her mom had an affair and the person she cheated with was her longtime friend I met a few times. I told her about the legal battle and why I decided to keep her with me and not have stopped my ex wife from contacting her. After hearing everything, she was really upset. She cried a lot, and in the end, she took her anger out on me. I patiently took everything she threw at me so that she could just let it all go. Now she's in her room with her friend. I don't know how I could help her to get through this, but I'm glad that she's not alone at least. About 2 months ago, I wrote a post about how my daughter was upset and blamed me for her mom not being in her life. Well, she was really upset at the time, and I thought after telling her the truth, she'll better understand the situation. But recently, I learned that she secretly talks to her mother and even goes out to meet her. Now, I don't have a problem with them being in contact or just staying in each other's lives because as a 16-year-old, she's allowed to decide if she wants to have a relationship with her mother or not. But the thing that has been bugging me is that she felt the need to hide the fact that she meets her mom. I trust my daughter completely, but I do not trust my ex wife. So I talked to my daughter, and instead of reprimanding her, I took the gentler approach. I let her know that I don't have any qualms if she goes out to meet her mom or talks with her, but I also made it very clear that keeping it a secret from me is only going to make it complicated. So I told her to be open about her relationships and not hide her true self. It's not a bad thing to reconcile with a mother that she missed all her life, and I should know about it so that whenever there comes a time when she needs someone to talk to, I could be there for her. She did say she understood what I was trying to say, and I can just hope that it turns out to be fine. So, about 6 months ago, my daughter restarted her relationship with her mom after about 8 years of not being in each other's lives. I thought it wouldn't hurt, and it was her choice to choose whether she wants to mend fences or not. But it turns out me being careful was the right thing to do. I researched a little about my ex's life, and she had been living alone with a lot of debt. Her boyfriend, she cheated and gambled away all their money and became an alcoholic too. She dumped him a while ago, and now she tries to just survive and make ends meet. So last week, my daughter came home and told me that she asked mom to move in with us, and if I really love her, I'll allow her to live together with her mom. I told her that it's not going to happen. If she wants to visit her mom and stay over for the weekends, that's fine. But no way will I let a person who cheated on me live under my roof. She threw a tantrum and tried persuading me, but I didn't budge. When she finally gave up on it and told her mom, That woman went nuts and told Sophia that she's a pushover for listening to her dad. She said that it's Sophia who doesn't want to live with her and got really mad. My daughter came back home all upset and told me everything. It was pretty easy to figure out that my ex-wife just wanted to leech off of us now that she can't survive alone and used Sophia as a way to get back in our lives. I told my kid she was in no way at fault here and tried to console her the best I could. I wish that this wouldn't leave a deep scar on her and that she doesn't develop any serious trust issues. NTA, I don't think you're the a-hole here for trying to protect your daughter's innocence while dealing with your own life turning into chaos. You did your best, and with time, your child will understand that. NTA, I think your ex-wife never really wanted to be a mother and thinks of your daughter as a burden. Good on you for keeping the child and making sure she receives a healthy upbringing. No one can completely protect their kid, and you chose the best thing among the choices available to you. Don't beat yourself too much because one day Sophia would definitely understand that. I'm a 28-year-old female, and my grandparents are wonderful people. They raised 5 great children and somehow 2 garbage people. I have 3 amazing aunts and 2 uncles on my mom's side. I don't really know my father or his family very well. He paid child support, but he lives on a different continent and we have not seen each other much. He was still more of a parent than my mother ever was. Onto the garbage people. My mother, female, older woman, and uncle, male, who's dead, each had a kid as a teenager and decided to just dump them with my grandparents. My uncle passed away young in prison. My mother eventually met a guy and moved across the country to start a real family. My grandfather made her sign over my child support and used her and my uncle's inheritance to raise my cousin, female 30, and I relatively well. We had a life most people would envy. We had material goods, but mostly we had so much love from those 2 people and their good offspring and their families. They tried their absolute best to raise us well and let us know we were loved. My mother had 3 more kids with her husband. They did not visit much, and I do not consider them to be my siblings. She never asked me to come visit or anything. Her life didn't need me in it. Enough whining. On to the story. As much as my grandfather loved us, he was an old guy. He loved old TV shows and thought that the pinnacle of humor was WKRP in Cincinnati and MASH. So we watched reruns of those shows after school every day. I grew to really enjoy them. My cousin, not so much, but she loved sitting with us, so she bore it with good grace. If you know WKRP, you know the most famous episode, the Thanksgiving episode. We loved that episode. Les Nesman reporting live is one of the funniest things ever. My grandfather passed away last week. My family was holding a memorial service, and surprisingly, my mother showed up with her family. When it came time for an open microphone for memories, my mother went up and started talking about how much she enjoyed coming home for the holidays. Cough, bullshit, cough. Whatever. I was in the pew behind my grandmother, and I whispered in her ear, "As God is my witness, I thought turkeys could fly." She did her shriek giggle that I love, and my mother glared at us. She may have thought my grandmother was laughing at her. During lunch, my grandmother hugged me and said that I am the only person that could make her laugh on the saddest day of her life. Right then, my mother came up and asked, "What was so funny?" during her speech. My grandmother told her it was private and not her business. But my mother knows I did something, and she is pissed that I made her look bad in front of her husband and children. I just wanted to remind my grandmother of sitting on the couch, just the 4 of us, watching a show that was old before I was born. AITA? NTA. I went to my grandma's funeral a couple of weeks ago, and we shared plenty of stories of memories with her that made us laugh. Laughing at good memories is good and reminds everyone of happy times with that person. It's the purpose of a funeral, to remember that person. NTA. You made your grandmother laugh on a day she didn't believe it could be possible. I'm sure it was more comforting for her than you could ever even know. Ignore your paranoid mom. I'm a 25-year-old female, not currently dating anybody. However, my brother Steve, 25, is marrying his girlfriend, Natalie, 26, of 4 years later in the fall. When Steve and I were 8, our parents, now 59 and 56, divorced. Our parents had 50-50 custody, though I was always closer to our mother and Steve to our father. Our mother had saved her wedding dress, made by my grandmother, for Steve and I to each use on our wedding day, with the clause that we would return it in good condition for her to keep and hand down as she saw fit. Natalie knows about this agreement and has said that she would rather buy her own dress. We're all fine with that, but found it weird when 2 weeks ago, Steve asked if he could have the dress. My mother asked why Natalie would want it, and Steve clarified that she didn't want it, but he wanted to keep it in his closet leading up to the wedding so that he could feel like he was part of the tradition. My mother gave him the dress. About a week ago, I saw the dress for sale on Facebook. I was enraged and betrayed that they would sell a tradition without consulting any of us. I used my friend's account to buy the dress back. When I showed up to my mother's house with the dress, she was confused. But when I told her what Steve and Natalie tried to do, she was distraught. She burst into tears and called our father. We responded that Steve and Natalie had told him that they were renting out the dress for extra money to fund the wedding, and that he didn't see any problem with it as long as the dress was kept in good condition. A few hours later, Steve and Natalie started blowing up my phone as my father had told them that I had tattled to my mother, who then told our father, who then berated them for lying to him. They asked why I was being so nosy in their wedding plans. I explained to them that I had actually bought the dress and wasn't just stalking their Facebook for fun. Everything was getting very complicated with all the phone calls, so I organized a physical family meeting at Steve and Natalie's apartment. This is where I might be the AH. Everybody started shouting at each other. My mom was angry at Steve and Natalie for selling the dress, and our father for calling her dramatic. Our father was angry at Steve and Natalie for telling him that they were renting the dress when they were selling it. Angry at my mother for crying and wailing about it, and angry at me for getting us all together before anybody had a chance to calm down. Steve and Natalie are angry at our mother and father for not supporting their financial decisions and angry at me for meddling in their wedding plans. I'm angry at Steve and Natalie for selling a dress that isn't theirs. Everybody's angry at me for keeping the dress at my house, but Steve and Natalie have keys to my mother's house, not mine, and I can't trust them to not just take the dress back. Please help me, Reddit, because this has become quite a mess. NTA, you can't make final decisions with other people's valuables. Your brother and fiancé are major AHs, and your dad sounds like a bit of a jerk too. Your mom is heartbroken. Of course she is. The boy she raised lies to her and stole from her. Don't accept blame for figuring out and intervening in your brother's plot. And make sure he pays you what you spent. Or call it his wedding gift. Don't make yourself the bad guy. Don't let them mail you the bad guy. You did the right thing. You protected the family heirloom that was so important to your mom. Had she found out it was sold to a stranger, I can't even imagine. NTA, your brother and his fiancée are dishonest AHs. Your dad, he's one too. He couldn't possibly have believed his ex-wife would be agreeable to the son renting out her handcrafted vintage wedding dress. Assuming that is, that he's even telling the truth. I'm glad you were able to get the dress back. You might consider convincing your mother to change the locks at her house. Who knows what those two might consider helping themselves to in order to pawn? The silver, the TV, anything of monetary value?